Hello and welcome to a hot potato topic in data, and this is projects versus product. What's the difference and why should we opt for the one and not the other? So let's have first a look at actually what a project is. So a project has a defined start and end date, and this means that it's a temporary endeavor that has a clear scope and clear assigned capacity. And at the end, what you want to create is a unique single product, service, or a result. Usually, in most cases, multiple people are working on a project, and it's not something about 1 or 2 days. But if you're taking this definition from PMI very strictly, then yeah, well, when you have one person and you're doing something for 2 days, theoretically it can be considered as a project, but in practice, usually it's being not considered as a project. So let's have a look actually what a product is. A product can be something virtual or physical that is produced at a cost and sold for a price. You want to make sure that with marketing or any kind of promotion, you're communicating very clearly what's the value, and that actually the product itself is of immediate and relevant benefit and use for the stakeholder. You're having also a clear product life cycle with adaptable products. So this means what you're interested in to make sure that what you deliver is valuable, but not only at the point of delivery, but also afterwards. And you want to even more make sure that the value stays or stable or is increasing over time. Or if you find out that the value is not relevant, you want to make sure that you're ending it up very soon so that you do not need to have any unnecessary legacy that you need to take care of. And of course, it needs to have a fancy, funny name that is lovely to use for the stakeholders. So when we now look at the differences of the approach from a processual perspective, what we learn is actually that both need to somehow start at some point, and at some point they deliver something that is the product, the service, or the result. And then the stakeholder basically can go into two directions. On the one hand, if it's a project, then this means that your capacity is not assigned anymore to this result or product or service that you delivered, which means that you don't have any capacity for tech debt, for maintenance, increasing the value, or doing any kind of fixes. This also means that your stakeholder is quite left alone and sad or angry because yeah, I mean, you delivered this thing and you're not taking care of it, so that's not a really nice experience. On the other hand, if you're following the product approach, you have the capacity. You're taking your stakeholders very seriously and you're listening to them. What do they need? What need to change? So that you're making sure that over the product life cycle, the value increases, stays stable, or you decide that you don't need this product anymore. Okay, let's go back to the project approach once again. So if you're doing only projects without any kind of product related thinking on the long term, what will happen is that you're creating a lot of stuff that has decreasing value over time. So this means you're piling up legacy. And when you want to put this on a picture, so basically what you're doing is to pile up legacy. You're creating one delivery after another, and then at some point, usually you're having a certain maturity of your data team, and someone is coming around and let's say now we want to build something on top of it, like the house that you want to build on this mountain of bricks. And you can imagine that this is not a really like stable foundation and not something that is really working at the end as well. On the other hand, if we're looking at the product approach, as mentioned already, you want to increase value over time. So you are very interested to create a stable, good working foundation, that you are delivering everything around it so that you can build up something properly, but also somehow flexible and adaptable, right? Because if you want to make sure that it's valuable over time, then you need to have a certain flexibility as well. So how does that look like from the product cycle perspective? The product life cycle can be different for each product that you have. Some have a very steep curve. They're valuable from the early beginning that you start to deliver something, but then they're also not really valuable anymore very quick. And in these cases, you want to decide that you want to stop the product service. You don't want to take care of it anymore. You want to remove it before it gets a legacy. In other cases, you need to wait a certain time until it gets valuable because you need to do some implementation and some documentation and some training and actually quite a lot of steps until you're able to deliver it. But once you delivered it, it really gets very valuable. And then it depends. It can stay valuable for a longer period of time. It can alternate in the value, or sometimes it starts to decrease again. And then you're making a decision to extend the product to make it more valuable again, so that at the end you have this trend more going upwards instead of going downwards. But how do you create this product life cycle? Like, how would that look like if you break it down into more detail? Well, at the end, what you do is to create a product roadmap to define what are the different steps that you need to take to build this product and to make sure that it's being valuable over time. And also, as mentioned already, sometimes it happens that it is quite valuable and you don't need to invest that much time. And this means that you have time for bug fixing or for tech debt, which is going into that direction, for maintenance, for doing kind of like smaller things and improvements that increases the value a little bit, but not that much as like a new feature or a new kind of tweak that you're adding there. And of course, you have various teams that are involved. I now here noted only the data teams, but of course, you have also engineering, product, UX teams, whatever teams are involved in the product. And then you're having a timeline, and over this timeline, basically, you describe what are the different things that need to be done. And as you see here in the small rectangle, some things can be connected to a project. So this means that if we are looking back again on our slide to see how the value increases for a certain product, you have the product life cycle going from the beginning until the end. And then you can have spread across the product life cycle one or multiple projects to create certain deliveries and extend the product to make it more valuable. So actually, projects and products can go hand in hand very well if you're having the product focus on top. If you're having only the project focus, then as said, you're creating a quite of a messy, chaotic situation. But I hope that I can motivate you with that to use more the product focus, and I will create more content to explain what products are in the data landscape, in my opinion, and also why they're actually very beneficial and where it makes sense to think in that direction. That's it already with this video. If you liked it, then please like and subscribe, and see you in the next one.